Welcome to another edition of Film Fighters from Radio Titans in Los Angeles. I'm Carl Kozlowski, and with me today is
Joe Black.
And the rest of our crew, even on though it's only episode 2, all had various. So we're actually going to be engaging in discussion/debate in kind of an unusual way, I guess. Joe's going to be sharing with us his 5 favorite movies of the year so far, and I'll be sharing with you the 5 movies I hated the most so far.
Yeah, I don't like to dwell in negativity, so I'm going to stick to the positive, at least on my end.
I love negativity. I think it's way more fun than positivity.
You fit right in with this world.
Yes, I do. So, Joe, what are some of your favorite movies this year? Is there a particular order to any of these?
Sure, why not? I think my favorite movie of the year is Kingsman, The Golden Circle. Yeah, absolutely. And then M. Night Shyamalan's Split. I really liked the new Leatherface film. I liked the Netflix film Okja. And I loved Alien Covenant. Those are my 5. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, care to elaborate on any of these, or should I give you my list of things we hate and I hate, and then we go back and forth? Or
well, what did you think of those movies, Carl?
Well, I liked Split.
What did you like about Split?
Well, Joe, it's your favorite movie. You should.
True.
Yeah. Well, how about you get into it?
You liked the other Blumhouse movie. Blumhouse or Blumhouse?
Blumhouse, I guess.
Yeah, you liked the one that just came out. Happy.
Oh yeah, did you see it?
I did see Happy Death Day, only because you gave it such a glowing review.
And what did you think?
Well, I begged my fiance to go with me to see it. And she went reluctantly, and then the last minute, a couple of my friends joined as well. So there were 4 of us. We all 4 went out to Happy Death Day.
Awesome.
And within 5 minutes, I knew that I was going to have to make it up to my fiance. It was very. Before I go on, I do love I love Blumhouse.
Yeah, Blumhouse.
I like what they're doing. I like this idea of making these genre movies for really cheap, and you know what I mean? Like, I like the idea of keeping the price tag low and being able to experiment in that way. But to me, Happy Death Day felt like a movie where they had an idea for a second act and then didn't care about how to get there. Mm-hmm. And then by Act 3, just threw everything at the screen, and we're like, we need to go home. Act 2 is done. It just gets so absurd. But on the flip side of that, then you have things that come out like Split, which Split is an exceptionally interesting movie.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. Are we allowed to do spoilers on this show?
Yeah, sure. Let's do
okay,
it.
yeah. Everyone kind of knows what Split is about. The guy kidnaps, the girls, and he has multiple personalities. But the big twist in Split is that it's part of a larger superhero universe that M. Night Shyamalan is creating. And what I found so remarkable about that was that a lot of people are suffering from what they call superhero fatigue. Mm-hmm. The Marvel movies, everyone's kind of getting used to them, used to the machine, if you will, of Marvel. And along comes Split, which is kind of the same idea. It's creating this cinematic universe in a superhero world, but it's not showing off about it, it's not bragging about it, and it's not trying to get you to come to the theater by being like, oh, look, a sequel to Unbreakable. Mm-hmm. It's focusing on what, for me as a film watcher, actually matters, and that's who and why. That movie is about that movie is about the main character, James McAvoy's character. It's exploring him. It's not trying to cash in on the Unbreakable. And I think that's Marvel's big problem right now too. I think that Marvel is doing a lot of things just to either A, keep the machine going, or B, cash in. Like movies like Doctor Strange, and movies that nobody's asking for, and then they come out and they have these big happenings, and then they fizzle out, and it's because they actually have nothing to offer other than it's the new Marvel movie. Even the new Spider-Man, I felt, was kind of like that. Like it really had nothing to offer. Other than, like, here it is. Unlike Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, at least.
Spider-Man 2 is amazing.
Spider-Man 2, I think, is my personal... might be my favorite superhero movie.
I probably agree.
I'm not really crazy about the other two of Sam Raimi's, and I really did not like Mark Webb's films. But
horrible.
But I felt like this new Spider-Man, like so many of the Marvel movies, lacks its own personality. And so when something comes along with personality, that's what gets me excited. Like Thor, the new Thor, I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, you can even look at that trailer and be like, oh, I haven't seen this movie yet. You know what I mean? Like, and Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of the same way. I didn't care for it personally, but I appreciated that I didn't feel like I was watching, Avengers Part 3 or, whatever. So back to what I liked about Split. What I loved about Split was that it's a PG-13 movie, which is weird, but which is surprising because they still made it so intense and it was so scary. Yeah, I mean, and the content and the content in it too pushes that line. But it's PG-13 and it's a very accessible movie that's very entertaining, with award-worthy performances from everybody in it. If you, what's the girl's name? Anna Taylor-Joy. Yeah, she's fantastic in it.
McAvoy. It'll be interesting to see if he gets critical awards or the Oscar attention next year.
I didn't feel like anybody was doing it for that reason. I'm just pointing out that
I'm just saying it'll be interesting to see because it's not the kind of movie that normally gets that kind of attention, but they are pushing him in the trade ads and stuff because it's 23 personalities. Yeah, they're starting to.
Well, we only see 4 of them. But
that's true. Yeah.
Saving them for the sequel.
It's still pretty amazing, though.
Yeah. But again, I like that it was this big, accessible thing. It's a superhero movie, a supervillain movie. So it's what's coming out right now that people are complaining about. Too many superhero movies, too many, overload. But no, it's reminding us, no, it's not. The problem right now isn't that there's too many superhero movies. The problem is that all these movies only exist for the sake of existing. And Split, here comes a film that actually has something going on. You know what I mean? And so I was really excited to see that. And I'm a big M. Night Shyamalan fan in general.
Me too.
I think he's way more ambitious and crazy than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
I think the reason why he kind of fell off is because people started realizing that his movies aren't normal. They were like, look, when The Sixth Sense came out and Unbreakable, these are weird movies.
Yeah.
They're not, and it's amazing that they were such big hits. They're not Spielberg movies. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not mom and pop type movies. And then when Lady in the Water came around, people started noticing that. They're like, oh, wait a minute, this is,
Yeah, but Lady in the Water, I thought that had some good elements to it, but I think that it just wasn't very cohesive with what it was trying to do. It was.
What do you think it was trying to do?
Well, I mean, it was more of a telling a fairy tale versus the first 4 big movies of his were really intense. Just superbly taught thrillers, or mysteries, or however you want to classify. Like Sixth Sense is really a thriller, but there was just a real tension the whole time when you're watching all those movies. Maybe The Village, I think, started to lose it a little bit, but I wound up loving The Village because the ending I thought was amazing. That might be my favorite ending of his.
There's one shot in The Village that to me sums up his entire career.
What's that?
Oh, it's again, spoilers for the movie. When
the 2004 movie.
Hey man, you never know.
Yeah.
Like some people, haven't seen Ratatouille yet. So when I
haven't. Oops.
You haven't seen Ratatouille?
No, I know. I gotta say, I'll write that down.
Yeah, be sure to spell it right.
I know.
So when she comes over the wall and she talks to the park ranger and he goes to get the medicine, right?
Yeah.
So the way that the shot is it's behind the head of M. Night Shyamalan plays the head ranger sitting at his desk, right? So the shot is behind his head and he's reading a newspaper. And you can see all the newspaper headlines are awful things like, death and blah, 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 like poison in water, just all these awful articles about how bad things are in the world, right? So then in the background, you see the state trooper guy, the park ranger, come in, and the M. Night Shyamalan's character doesn't even put the newspaper down. He just starts talking to the guy while with the paper still in his face, and he's really condescending to the guy. And the guy already kind of knows what he's supposed to be doing. The guy then walks over to the refrigerator while M. Night Shyamalan is distracted by the newspaper, right? The camera then pans down to the refrigerator, right? The guy opens the refrigerator door to get the medicine that the girl needs, right? And the refrigerator door is glass, so it's reflective. So you actually see M. Night Shyamalan sitting there with his face buried in the newspaper while the guy takes the medicine and leaves, right? And so you've got this beautiful shot where M. Night Shyamalan is like saying to us, like, we're so busy burying ourselves in all of this bad information that's coming in and how shitty things are, right? That we're not even paying attention to one another and providing each other with the medicine that we need.
Oh, wow.
And then even more than that, by M. Night himself playing that character and then having the reflection show him playing that character, I think that's him calling out to filmmakers and artists too, saying we're too busy living in this and reflecting what's going on, that we're actually ignoring the good medicine that's being provided. And then he took in part of why I think that that's the case is Lady in the Water. I actually think is I think it's his masterpiece, it's actually in my top 5 of all time.
Wow.
Now I'm not saying that it's for everybody,
Sure.
and I'm not, but that film is literally about saving Story. Like, literally, that's her name. Her name is Story. But the film itself is also a metaphor for saving Story. I think that he saw this trend happening where people were just starting to regurgitate what they'd already seen before, and he didn't like the direction that was going, right? And so he literally makes this movie where a guy is trying to figure out all the ways to save Story, right? And he thinks he knows what's going on, but then it all gets flipped on him, and it turns out he didn't know. And and in the movie, M. Night Shyamalan plays a guy who he got a lot of flack for playing a character who writes a book.
Yeah.
That is supposed to. People took it as, oh, he plays a guy who writes a book that's going to save the world. And no, that's actually not it when you watch the movie. He writes a book. His character is going to write a book that he will be killed for, that someone else will read, a child will read. And that will inspire the child to take action in his life. And then that child will change the world. Right?
Yeah.
And that disconnect is important. You know, because that is the difference between calling yourself a Christ savior, or just saying you just want to inspire other minds. You know? And M. Night's career reflected the movie. He came out and made this big, bold movie that was rejected by the first studio, his home studio, and then it came out and audiences hated it, but he made it anyway, even though everybody told him not to, because he thought there was a reason, basically killing his career, much like his character.
Yeah. Well, what about, what do you think went wrong with him after that? Because I think, or maybe you don't see it as going wrong, but I think it was really strange. Like, people consider generally Sixth Sense classic, Unbreakable cult classic, bordering on classic. Signs, I don't know if it's seen as a classic, but I think it's an awesome movie and it was a big hit, generally acclaimed. But then The Village started to really cause controversy with people. I can't really remember why, but I remember the first half.
It was sold as something that it wasn't. Is why.
What was it? I can't remember.
Well, it was sold as like this. It was sold as like a monster thriller.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't. It was. It was a love story.
Yeah. Well, okay, I can see that to a point, but I think it was more. I loved the message so much about what the twist did, revealing that these are people hiding out from all the horrible things going on in the world. That I thought that was just amazing and profound, and there was a beautiful article that I remember reading at that time.
But that's not entertaining. That's not sexy.
I get it. Yeah, yeah. I get it.
But a ghost movie where at the end he's a ghost. I mean, that's sexy.
Yeah.
He's a superhero. That's sexy.
Well, yeah, but see, even Unbreakable, what's weird is the fact that I know you're saying for me, I have a tendency to look at the box office of a movie pretty heavily, and you don't, which is...
The Village was a hit, though, wasn't it?
Well, here's the thing. I remember the box office, because I'm kind of Rain Man for this stuff. It was like, Sixth Sense went to like, I don't remember in the U.S. alone, but I think it was 600 million worldwide. And then like Unbreakable, I don't know worldwide, but U.S. it was like 90 million or something. So it actually didn't do that hot. It didn't hit the 100 million mark.
Ahead of its time. It was the year before X-Men came out.
Oh.
Wasn't it?
Okay. Probably.
Yeah, it was like 2000, right? And X-Men was... Oh, no, it was the same year.
Yeah, same year.
X-Men also was kind of ahead of its time. It just had the benefit of having so many superheroes in it that people went...
But still, regardless of ahead of its time, I mean, you have unless you're saying that people went willing to give it a chance, because Sixth Sense, I think, had a big opening, but after that, it really fell off.
Well, yeah, it's because people wanted the Sixth Sense again. They were like, oh, he's the Sixth Sense guy. Because that was his only big. Because that was his. It was his second movie, but it was such a thing. Kind of like when Pulp Fiction hit. Like Pulp Fiction hit, and everybody wanted Pulp Fiction out of Jackie Brown.
Yeah,
and people didn't get that.
Yeah.
But now that time has gone on, and we understand them more as an artist, and times have changed, and people have changed. 20 years later, I think Unbreakable is spoken about just as in high regard as The Sixth Sense, if not higher regard, because I think that people realize it